Welcome to the Jasmine Podcast.
You know the photo. I mean, we have all seen it online. It is always a shiny laptop resting on a table, usually made of some trendy, reclaimed wood.
Oh, yeah. And there's always an infinity pool stretching out the background.
Exactly. An infinity pool, maybe a coconut drink, sweating in the tropical sun. And the person in the frame is wearing sunglasses, just typing away, looking perfectly relaxed. It is the ultimate working from anywhere fantasy.
It really is the dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what that photo never actually shows you is the psychological displacement happening just outside the frame. What's fascinating here is the subtle, quiet reality of what actually happens to a human being when their brain is operating in one time zone, but their body is sitting in another.
And that is exactly our mission today. We're welcoming you to this deep dive where we are going to look way past those glossy Instagram aesthetics. We really want to understand the complex reality of this lifestyle.
Right, because we are looking at some fascinating source material today that points out a huge shift. According to the research, by the year 2026, the concept of the office has fundamentally changed.
It has. It is no longer a physical container. It's not a tall glass building in the center of a city where everyone gathers at 9 in the morning.
No, not at all. The office has transformed entirely into a digital state of mind.
A digital state of mind. And for you, our listener, we really want to unpack what that means in simple terms. Because this isn't just about remote work as some temporary policy anymore.
Exactly. We are looking at a complete uncoupling of our physical location from our economic value. I mean, for all of modern history, your zip code basically dictated your salary limit.
Right. If you wanted the big city paycheck, you had to endure the big city rent.
Yes, the rent, the stressful commute, the high cost of living. You had to live near the factory or near the office tower to make that kind of money.
But now that invisible cord connecting where you sleep to how you earn has been totally cut. So if the office is just a state of mind, what actually happens to our physical location? And maybe more importantly, what happens to our money?
Oh, the money aspect is huge.
It is. So let's get right into the economics of working from anywhere, or WFA. Our sources focus heavily on a concept called geo-arbitrage.
Right, geo-arbitrage. That is a massive buzzword right now.
It is, and I want to break down how this actually functions in practice for our listeners because it sounds almost too good to be true. Let's look at the word itself. Geo means Earth or location, and arbitrage basically means taking advantage of a price difference.
That is a perfect way to explain it. The mechanics of it are actually quite straightforward, even if the implications are huge. You are essentially leveraging the financial difference between two totally different geographic environments.
So, meaning you earn money in one place but spend it in another.
Exactly. You are selling your labor in a high-value market, like a global tech hub, but you are consuming goods and living your life in a low-cost market.
I see. So you are earning a strong global currency, maybe US dollars or euros from a big company, but you choose to live in a place where housing, food, and just daily expenses cost a fraction of that.
Right. It is like taking a very large bucket to a rushing waterfall, filling it all the way up, and then carrying that full bucket back to a place where a single drop of water goes a very, very long way.
Oh, I love that analogy. The bucket and the waterfall. That makes it so easy to picture.
And the source material provides a very stark example of this. It profiles workers who are saving up to 70% of their total income.
Wait, 70%? That is incredible.
It is, and they are doing it simply by keeping the exact same job they had in London or New York, but executing that job from a cafe in Bali, or maybe a co-working space in Lisbon.
So they have become completely location independent. Their livelihood does not require them to be in a specific physical building ever again.
Exactly. The historical link between where you live and what you earn has been completely severed.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more, because having a big tech hub paycheck while living in a tropical paradise sounds like an absolute dream. But I have to ask about the reality of that.
Yeah, the reality is a bit more complicated.
Because geo-arbitrage sounds like you are basically just taking a highly paid, long-term vacation. Just pack a suitcase, open your laptop on the beach, and the money rolls in. Is it really that simple?
Definitely not. And the sources strongly warn against treating this like a vacation.
Yeah.
That is actually where a lot of people fail at this lifestyle.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, because it is an economic strategy. It is not a holiday. When you attempt geo-arbitrage, you have to completely restructure your legal identity, your taxes, your entire daily routine.
Oh, right, because of the different countries involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are managing drastic time zone differences. You might be waking up at midnight just to attend a crucial team meeting. Plus, you have to ensure enterprise-level internet security on a public network.
So while the financial upside is massive, the operational reality requires intense discipline.
Intense discipline, yes.
Okay, so if your income is no longer tied to your physical location and your daily routine is entirely managed by you alone, what happens to your sense of self? I mean, changing your environment, that drastically has to change who you are, right?
It absolutely does. It forces a total deconstruction of your identity. And our research introduces a very compelling phrase for this. They call it the sovereign individual.
The sovereign individual. Okay, let's define that for our listeners. A sovereign is usually like a king or a ruler, right? Someone with ultimate power over a territory.
Yes, exactly.
So in this context, are we saying these workers have become rulers of their own lives?
In a digital sense, yes, completely.
Yeah.
A sovereign individual in the 2026 economy is someone who has achieved absolute control over their own labor, their location, and their own data.
So they are not just standard employees anymore.
No, they are no longer a dependent employee relying on a company to provide a desk, a schedule, or a local community. They produce value entirely on their own terms.
Wow. That sounds incredibly empowering. You own your time, you own your location. But if we trace the logical path of this, it leads to a very strange place, doesn't it?
It really does, because there is a catch.
Right. The sources note that when you are no longer defined by your local community, like when your professional identity and your friends are completely detached from the physical town, you actually you transform into what they call a citizen of the cloud.
A citizen of the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is such a powerful phrase. It means the internet essentially becomes your true country.
Your true country is online.
Yes, your deepest loyalties and your most frequent interactions are tied to digital platforms, not physical neighborhoods.
But wait, if I am a citizen of the cloud, who are my neighbors? I can see the appeal of not being tied down, but does this mean I belong everywhere in the world, or does it mean I actually belong nowhere?
And that is the core vulnerability of this entire movement. Strategic, constant movement forces a radical shift in how you process belonging.
Because you aren't staying anywhere long enough to put down roots.
Exactly. Working from anywhere offers incredible, unprecedented freedom. You can literally book a flight tonight and wake up in a completely new culture tomorrow.
Which sounds amazing.
It does. But if that constant movement isn't anchored by a genuine internal purpose, that freedom very quickly becomes an empty void.
A void, just floating without gravity.
Precisely. If you are constantly chasing the cheapest rent or the best weather or the lowest taxes, but you never pause to build a meaningful connection to the physical dirt under your feet, you lose your roots.
And that takes a toll on a person.
A huge toll. You are free, yes, but you are carrying a massive psychological burden. Human beings are biologically wired to need a tribe. We are wired for local belonging.
So if being a citizen of the cloud strips away your local identity, what fills that empty space?
Well, according to the data, it is often a very specific, hidden kind of loneliness.
Which brings us to the dark side of this entire phenomenon. Because it isn't all sunshine and cheap coffee. The sources refer to this dark side as digital isolation.
Digital isolation, yes, because without a shared physical office, we lose something crucial.
Yeah.
We lose the ambient time required for empathy.
Let's focus on that phrase for a second, ambient time. In a traditional office, there's unstructured time. Like, you arrive a few minutes early to a meeting.
Right, or you pass someone in the hallway.
Exactly. You wait together while the coffee machine runs. And in those tiny, unplanned moments, you aren't talking about spreadsheets or deadlines.
No, you are asking about their weekend. You notice if they look tired. You share a quick laugh about something silly.
Right. And those casual moments are what we mean by ambient time. It is the time where you are just being human together.
And those moments are the invisible glue of a functioning team. They build human warmth.
But when you transition to a fully digital, working from anywhere model, you do not accidentally bump into a colleague in the cloud.
No, you definitely don't. Every single interaction has to be scheduled.
And because every interaction is scheduled usually through a video call or an instant message, the nature of our relationships fundamentally changes. The sources call these transactional relationships.
Transactional relationships, meaning interactions based purely on an exchange of value.
Right. We stop being teammates, and we start being mere exchanges of value. It essentially turns your colleagues into vending machines.
Ooh, vending machines. That is a harsh but very accurate way to put it.
Think about it. You walk up, you press a button, meaning you send an email or a chat message, and you wait for the product to drop out.
I need this file. Please send it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Exactly. You would never ask a vending machine how its day is going or if it is feeling overwhelmed with its workload. You just extract the value and walk away.
And treating people like vending machines slowly drains the humanity out of the workday. Which brings up something really interesting. Think about the mechanics of a video call.
Oh, they are exhausting.
They are. The cognitive load is very high. You are staring at a screen, you are managing your own facial expressions, you are dealing with a slight audio delay.
Yeah, that slight delay always messes up the rhythm of a conversation.
Right. And because it is exhausting, human nature forces us to rush to the point. We want to get the information and get off the screen as fast as possible. So we skip the ambient time entirely. We skip the empathy.
And that creates the ultimate paradox of the 2026 digital landscape, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The paradox being that we are experiencing hyperconnection globally, but complete disconnection locally.
Let's break that down. Hyperconnection globally, but complete disconnection locally.
Right. So you can collaborate on a highly complex software update with a designer in London, a developer in Tokyo, and a project manager in New York, all in real time, seamlessly.
Which is a technological miracle.
It is. But then, when you close your laptop, you realize you do not even know the first name of the person living in the apartment right next door to you.
Wow. Yeah, that hits hard. You walk down the street of whatever beautiful city you are living in, but you don't say hello to the person at the coffee shop because you have headphones on.
Always wearing the headphones.
Right. You are staring at a screen, talking to the cloud. You are physically present, but psychologically absent.
And when your professional life is reduced to a series of vending machine transactions, and your local life is completely ignored, that digital isolation becomes total. It completely surrounds you.
So what does this all mean? If we are isolated and our relationships are purely transactional, how do we actually survive this? We can't all just be lonely, sovereign individuals floating in the cloud, extracting value from each other without any human warmth.
No, we really can't. That is not a sustainable way to live.
Right. So if we want to thrive in a location-independent world, we need a new mechanism for connection. We need a new skill set. Because just having a fast Wi-Fi connection is clearly not enough.
It is not enough at all. And the research introduces a critical competency required for this new era. It is a phrase our listeners should really remember: contextual intelligence.
Contextual intelligence. Okay, let's define this clearly. This isn't just about being smart or knowing how to use complex software, right?
Not at all. Contextual intelligence is the ability to read the room when the room spans 3 different continents.
I like that. Reading a room across continents.
It is about understanding and adapting to the wildly different cultural, social, and physical environments of the people you are working with through a screen. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is how you survive the digital void.
Okay, can you give us an analogy to help make sense of contextual intelligence?
Sure. Think of it like radio frequency.
Radio frequencies. Okay.
Without contextual intelligence, it is like you are broadcasting a signal on an AM station while your colleague in Japan is listening on an FM station.
Oh, I see. You are both technically communicating. You are both speaking English. You are both looking at the same project file.
Right, but on their end, your message just sounds like static. It doesn't resonate. You have to learn how to tune your communication to their specific cultural frequency.
That makes perfect sense. Can we look at how that actually works in practice? Like, how does contextual intelligence physically change the way you do your job on a Tuesday morning?
Let's use a hypothetical scenario based on the source material. Imagine an American manager leading a team that includes a software developer in Germany and a graphic designer in Japan.
Okay, 3 very different work cultures.
Extremely different. Now, the American manager might naturally prefer enthusiastic, high-energy video calls with lots of brainstorming out loud.
Which is a very common American corporate style. Lots of energy, very vocal.
Right. But a manager with high contextual intelligence understands that the German developer might view that unstructured enthusiasm as highly inefficient. The German colleague might strongly prefer direct, heavily documented written instructions.
Okay, so that is the German frequency. What about the Japanese colleague?
Well, the Japanese designer might find direct, blunt feedback in a group setting highly uncomfortable. They might prefer private, indirect communication to preserve group harmony.
Wow, so contextual intelligence means you don't just send one mass email and expect everyone to process it the exact same way.
Exactly. You adapt your digital presence.
So you might send a detailed, bulleted document to the German colleague and then schedule a quiet one-on-one audio call with the Japanese colleague.
Yes. You are actively translating Not just the language, but the cultural context.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also recognizing their physical reality, which is just as important.
Their physical reality, like their time zone.
Time zones, yes, but also their local public holidays. You acknowledge that when you are drinking your morning coffee, they might be putting their children to bed. You validate the actual physical environment they are sitting in.
Oh, I get it now. And that is how you solve the vending machine problem. Contextual intelligence is the deliberate, intentional effort to build deep, genuine trust with a colleague you have never actually met in person.
Precisely. Because trust can no longer be built passively by just standing next to each other in a hallway. It must be built actively, straight through the screen.
You essentially have to manufacture that ambient time we talked about earlier.
Yes, you have to create it on purpose.
You have to reach out when you don't actually need anything, like sending a message just to share an article they might like or asking how their local weather is affecting their day.
Right. You have to prove to them that there is a real human being behind the text on the screen.
And if you master that contextual intelligence, you maintain your presence and your influence even when you are thousands of miles away. You become a real person to them, not just an avatar.
Exactly. It bridges that massive digital gap.
As we wrap up our analysis of this huge shift, I want to share a really powerful reflection from the source material. It feels like the perfect summary of this entire deep dive. It says, "Freedom is not the absence of a desk. It is the presence of a choice."
That is such a profound realization. Simply removing the physical desk or moving your laptop to a beach does not automatically make you free.
No, it just changes your background.
Right. True freedom in the digital age is intentionally choosing how, when, and most importantly, why you work. It is designing a life, rather than just running away from an office building.
And the sources followed that quote up with a very clear warning for anyone embracing this working from anywhere lifestyle. They say, if you can work from anywhere, make sure you aren't working from nowhere.
That is the key. Make sure you aren't working from nowhere. You have to anchor yourself.
You must ground your identity. You have to find purpose in the physical location you choose to inhabit and build that intentional, deeply contextual trust in your digital relationships.
So, we have a challenge for you, listening to us right now. The research suggests a weekly exercise, and it is a great one. Audit your digital presence.
Audit your digital presence. What does that mean for the listener?
It means taking a hard, honest look at your online interactions this past week. Ask yourself, are your relationships purely transactional? Are you treating people like vending machines?
Just putting in a request and waiting for the file.
Exactly. Your challenge this week is to build real, unprompted trust with a colleague. Create a moment of human warmth that has absolutely nothing to do with a project deadline.
Reach out just to be human. I love that. And as you navigate this new landscape, adopt the core philosophy of the location-independent movement. I'm working to live, not living to work.
Yes, your physical life, your experiences, your local community, those should always be the priority. Your work is simply the economic engine that supports that life.
Work is the engine, it is not the destination.
Beautifully said. But before we close out today, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to ponder.
Oh, I am ready. Where does this lead us?
Well, we have spent this entire discussion focusing on the individual, right? The psychology of the worker, the sovereign individual navigating the globe. But let's zoom out for a second and look at the physical world as a whole.
Okay, zooming out.
If this trend continues and millions of people eventually become citizens of the cloud, earning globally, moving constantly, maintaining their presence strictly across screens and time zones, what actually happens to the physical culture of the cities and towns we actually sleep in?
Oh, wow. That is a fascinating angle, because if everyone is looking down at a screen all day, who is actually looking after the neighborhood?
Exactly. Will local communities fade away entirely, basically turning our cities into mere hotels for digital nomads? Or will this crisis force us to invent a completely new way to be a neighbor?
Are we going to lose our real-world communities entirely, or will we evolve and figure out a new way to connect locally? That is an incredible question to leave on. It is definitely something to deeply consider the next time you open your laptop, wherever in the world you happen to be. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you next time.